as we are moving towards a new age of nationalism, there is no place for inclusion, tolerance, or even development. One must be reminded that we are moving backward rather than forward. Now, more than ever, we need a strong state, and most importantly, the participation of its informed citizens to take the state forward. Working together, collaboratively with the government is the only way forward. But limiting it to voting every few years is just not enough. Protesting on the streets, signing petitions in change.org, putting up angry posts in Facebook are all significant in demanding change, but still not enough. We've also seen how people power has brought down authoritarian regimes in Arab countries. But what followed is a clear indication of the relevance of good governance and the realization that good governance is not an easy task. At our organization, we help women entrepreneurs to set up their businesses. We strongly believe that entrepreneurship is a great tool for good governance. And Kerala is an amazing place to do research and develop new models of governance. We have 100% literacy, highest development index in India comparable to developed countries, high level of political awareness and participation among us citizens, and we are at the forefront of introducing inclusive policies like the most recent transgender policy, which was an attempt to integrate transgenders into our society. But implementing these policies in the large scale seems to be a bit of a challenge. Governments around the world are facing shortage of resources, funds, and expertise to address the needs of the citizens. And therefore, it is inevitable to develop new models of governance. In Kerala, we have an amazing example, Akshaya project, which created a platform for entrepreneurs to come together and deliver the e-governance services of the government. By outsourcing one of the core competencies of the government, it not only saved investments in infrastructure and human resources, it gave an opportunity for civic engagement through entrepreneurship. We now live in an era of sharing economy, and Akshaya clearly shows how we were far ahead of the game even before sharing economy became a successful business model. That's precisely why the future of governance will be platform governance, where the citizens will take dual roles as users as well as suppliers of the public services. And the dominant role of the government will emerge as a regulatory framework to ensure equal and quality access to public services to all its citizens. We also have another classic example from Kerala, the Compassionate Kozhikode project, which took crowdsourcing to a whole new level in participatory governance. Both these examples clearly explain why Kerala is the place for innovation in governance. We research and develop effective models for policy implementation. We study the models which have been successful in delivering the policy intentions efficiently and transparently. We started our research with the entrepreneurship policy. Why? Because it is one of the most important policies for any government. Businesses lead to economic growth, and it is the largest providers for jobs. And with the Akshaya project, now we know that entrepreneurship is a great tool for policy implementation. We specifically focused at women entrepreneurs because the number of women entrepreneurs were very less in spite of a large number of policies specially designed for them. In a recent report released by Kerala Startup Mission, it stated that only less than 8% of the founders were female. On the other hand, in Kerala, we have another successful project, Kudumbasri, wherein 41 lakh women are engaged in entrepreneurial activities through self-help groups and microfinance. We wanted to study this contrast and develop corrective measures. The evaluation of the policy measures was done by working together with the women entrepreneurs who were the beneficiaries of these schemes. The process involved accompanying these women entrepreneurs to various government offices to access information about the schemes, then applying for them, going to different government agencies to get multiple licenses for a single business, going to banks for applying for loans, and then finally working with different partners and vendors to set up and run the businesses. In some cases, we directly got enrolled in government schemes to evaluate them. So what did we find out? It is the lack of a proper structure and process that prevented women from becoming entrepreneurs. Multiple and uncertain visits to government agencies to get the licenses, difficulties in accessing funding, lack of awareness of these policies and schemes all added up to the cost. To understand the gravity of the issue, let's look at the quote by Kumar Srinivasan, who used to be the Intel India president. It took us 18 months to get the permits. The no objection certificate took the longest. One of the things that took a long time was over who would give which permits. We need to see a significant reduction in that. We also have asked for a single window clearance. This was the experience of Intel India. So to evaluate the impact of single window clearance in businesses, we set up a one-stop center for women entrepreneurs to facilitate the licensing and permits for a single business. And then, based on their feedback, we added business acceleration services such as mentoring, networking, access to funding, and digital engagement. We found that these facilities not only encourage women to set up business faster, it improved the ease of doing business. But instead of such result-oriented, feedback-oriented policy intervention, we always find that the funds for entrepreneurship promotion is dedicated to events and trainings without measuring their outcomes. Now, training is very, very important for entrepreneurship. But it is not enough. We need to do more. And also, training is an easy strategy. And this is a very common problem with policy implementation, resorting to easy, quick fix strategies. As Kennedy once famously said, we chose to go to more not because it's easy, but because it's hard. It's very true with policy implementation. Policy implementation is hard. And it is time to look away from these easy, quick fix strategies to the ones that work, that delivers results, that responds to the needs of the citizens, that engages citizens in design and development, uses technology and expertise, and most importantly, considers the resource constraints of the governments. That is precisely why we started looking at the service aggregator models in business. If you look at the recent examples of Airbnb, Uber, and Alibaba, these businesses have scaled extremely fast with minimal investments in infrastructure, yet delivering value to a large customer base. A perfect model for today's governments. We also found that the success of policy implementation depends upon the people who are the touch points to citizens for delivering these services. So how many of you have gone to a government office and have come out feeling satisfied with the service? Exactly. The governments can't be run like businesses. But the time has come for the governments to do better than businesses. We've been extremely fortunate to work with individuals like Srinath, who have been committed to delivering the policy intentions. He works with Union Bank, one of the largest government-owned banks in India, and one of the organizations through which most of the funding schemes for entrepreneurship is delivered to the citizens. And this is Danya, one of the prominent social activists in Kerala, and an entrepreneur with whom we recently worked with. We worked with Danya to set up a social enterprise that will provide sustainable livelihood for tribal women. It is people like Srinath who makes it possible for successful policy implementation. When the Kerala government announced a new department for women, we did a survey. We asked 300 women a simple question: what do you need? You might find that this question is too simple, but this is the core of policy design, putting the citizens at the center of the policy design so that the policies are designed to respond to the real needs of the citizens rather than making some bizarre assumptions about these needs. Now, based on that data, we classified the needs into 12 verticals, such as health, legal, childcare, housing, etc., and started developing solutions for these problems in these verticals. Now you see, resource constraint is a common problem for big governments and small startups like us. So we started crowdsourcing the solutions. We launched a hackathon, a social good hackathon, for youngsters to come together and use technology to address the social issues. We found it very effective in changing the perspective of youngsters from the government can't be fixed to how can I be a part of the solution. Now we have students across India working with us as interns, developing solutions for these 12 verticals. And based on the solutions that they have developed, we released our first research report last July. Now, the service aggregator model works perfectly well in a business world because the customers can pay for the services. But in governments, the citizens may not be able to pay for these public services. During Jagriti Yatra, this is a train journey across India to meet and study the successful social entrepreneurs in India. We had the opportunity to meet the Aravind Eye Care Hospital Management. Inspired by their business model, we categorized the needs into 3: basic, standard, and premium. And the premium solutions were designed to fund the basic, and the standard solutions were designed to be self-sustainable. Again, for the service aggregator model to work in a large scale in government, it has to bring a lot of citizens on board for taking up these public services and delivering them as enterprises. Media can play a huge role there. In Kerala, again, media plays a strong role in influencing government decisions, and this is predominantly due to their follow-up culture. Now, media can do more and become a platform for engaging citizens in design, implementation, and evaluation of policies. So finally, we were trying to bring all these components together. And again, a lot of companies, startups, and individuals reached out to us to put this dynamic and complex components into a simple design that's human-centric and that allowed civic engagement. What does this all mean at the ground level? A well-defined, structured process for public policy, which starts with the requirement gathering from the citizens, and then crowdsourcing and designing the public service, and the large-scale implementation of these services through a network of entrepreneurs, citizen entrepreneurs, and using media in each level to engage the citizens. We have a long way to go before this becomes a perfect model and a successful model. And the model keeps evolving based on the feedback, based on the information about the new models that we hear about that is working successfully elsewhere, and from the feedback that we get from the ground experiments. But I think this is the closest that we could get to make a government to work as a service aggregator model, and we are still working on it. Data science and behavioral economics have enabled governments to make informed policy decisions. Now, the challenge is to implement these informed policy decisions within our limited resources. Thanks to the information revolution, we have become an open and connected world. Now, let's race towards an equal and fair world that is tolerant and inclusive, and most importantly, where all the citizens will have equal access to the essentials of good life. Because that's the only future that's worth building. Thank you.